It happened 3 months ago when I was working nights at Whitmore's department store in Phoenix. I'm not good at telling stories or anything, but this shit really messed me up. So I'm Cade, by the way. 24 years old, dropped out of college after my second year. The security job paid decent for what it was. Just walking around an empty store for 8 hours, checking locks, making sure nobody broke in. Simple stuff. The store was one of those fancy places downtown. 3 floors, expensive clothes, jewelry section on the first floor. During my rounds, I'd walk past the women's clothing section on the second floor. Tons of mannequins everywhere, dressed in the latest fashions. About 2 weeks into the job, I started noticing something weird. The mannequins in the women's section. They were facing different directions each night. Not all of them, just a few. At first I thought maybe the day shift was moving them around for displays or whatever. Made sense, right? But then I started paying closer attention. Tuesday night, this one mannequin near the window was facing the escalator. Wednesday night, same mannequin was turned toward the fitting rooms. Thursday, it was facing the jewelry section downstairs. I mentioned it to my supervisor, Derek, during our weekly check-in. He looked at me like I was crazy. Said the display team only changed stuff on Sundays. Rest of the week, nothing gets moved. That's when I decided to check the security footage. We had cameras covering every inch of the store, and I had access to review them during my shifts. Started going through the recordings from the past few weeks. What I found made my hands shake. Every night around 2 a.m., this guy would appear on camera. Tall, skinny, wearing a baseball cap pulled low. He'd move through the women's section, carefully repositioning the mannequins. But that wasn't the worst part. I kept watching older footage. This had been going on for months. The same guy, same routine, but there was more. He'd set up what looked like a camera on a tripod, taking pictures of the mannequins in different poses. I went through weeks of footage, frame by frame. That's when I saw him during store hours. The guy was Brandon Hutchins, used to work in customer service. He got fired about 6 months ago for making female customers uncomfortable. I remembered hearing about it from other guards. My stomach dropped when I realized what he was doing. During the day, he'd been taking pictures of women shopping, hidden cameras positioned around the store. At night, he'd arranged the mannequins to match the poses from his photos. I found his hiding spot in the storage room on the 3rd floor. Behind some old Christmas decorations, he'd made a little camp. Sleeping bag, food, and, Jesus Christ, boxes of photos. Hundreds of them. Pictures of women shopping, with notes about their schedules, what they bought, personal conversations he'd overheard. Some photos had addresses written on the back, phone numbers, license plate numbers. I grabbed my radio to call the police. Nothing. Tried the store phone. Dead. The landline in the security office? Also dead. That's when I heard footsteps coming from the women's section. I pulled up the security cameras on my monitor. There he was, Brandon, standing right in front of the camera, smiling and waving. He'd been watching me through the security system this whole time. Knew exactly when I'd discovered his setup. The lights went out. I used my flashlight to find the emergency exit, but the door was chained shut from the outside. All the exits were. He'd planned this perfectly. I spent the next 4 hours hiding in the break room, listening to him moving around the store. He was talking to himself, having conversations with the mannequins like they were real people, calling them by the names of the women he'd photographed. Around 6 a.m., the morning shift arrived and found me. Brandon was gone. Police searched everywhere but never found him. They recovered all his photos and equipment, contacted the women he'd been stalking. The store fired me 2 weeks later, said I should have followed proper security protocols, whatever that means. I still get nightmares about those mannequins. Sometimes I drive past the store, and I swear I can see someone moving around inside after closing time. The new security guard quit after 1 week. They never caught Brandon. For all I know, he's still out there, watching people, taking pictures. Maybe he found a new store, new victims. I work construction now, daylight hours only. But sometimes, walking past department stores, I wonder if someone's watching from the shadows, if the mannequins are being moved around at night, arranged to recreate moments that were never meant to be captured. You probably think I'm paranoid. Maybe I am. But next time you're shopping, look around. Really look. You might notice someone paying too much attention, taking mental notes. Because guys like Brandon don't just disappear. They find new hunting grounds. I was working security at this 24-hour storage place called Desert Lock Storage. Nothing fancy, just rows and rows of orange metal doors. The pay was decent for sitting around all night, and honestly, I needed the job. My girlfriend Tessa kept saying I should find something better, but hey, money is money. The thing is, when you sit in that little guard booth for 8 hours straight, you start noticing patterns. Like how Mrs. Chen from Unit 47 always came by on Tuesdays around 9 p.m. Or how the college kid in Unit 12 would show up drunk every Friday night, trying to remember his combination. But there was this one guy. Let me think. Yeah, Unit 238. Every single night at exactly 3:17 a.m. I'm not even kidding about the time. I started checking my watch because it was so precise. The guy would drive up in this dark blue sedan, use his key card, go to his unit for maybe 10, 15 minutes tops, then leave. Never said hello, never even looked toward the booth. I remember thinking it was weird, but people are weird, right? Maybe he worked some crazy shift or something. I actually forgot to eat dinner most nights because I'd be watching for him. Stupid, I know. After about 3 weeks of this, I got curious. I mean, really curious. So I looked up Unit 238 in our computer system. The renter was listed as Marcus Delacroix. Pretty normal name, but when I Googled him, that's when things got fucked up. Marcus Delacroix died in a car accident 6 months ago. Hit a tree on Highway 60, they said. But his credit card was still being charged every month for the storage unit. The automatic payments kept going through like nothing happened. I printed out the accident report because I'm nosy like that. The weird part was, they never found his brother Vincent at the scene, even though witnesses said 2 people were in the car. Vincent told police he wasn't there that night, had an alibi and everything. So who was coming to Unit 238 every night at 3:17 a.m.? I started staying extra alert around that time. My coffee maker in the booth was broken, so I'd been drinking these energy drinks that tasted like battery acid. Made me all jittery, but I needed to stay awake. Then one night, I decided to actually walk over there. I know, terrible idea, but I had to see what was happening. I grabbed my flashlight and headed toward the back rows where Unit 238 was located. The guy was already there, loading something into a big black garbage bag. He looked exactly like the photos of Marcus I'd seen online, just older, more tired. This had to be Vincent. I watched him carry the bag to his car trunk, then another bag, then another. Whatever he was disposing of, there was a lot of it. The smell hit me when the wind changed direction, something metallic and sweet, like pennies mixed with, I don't know, something rotten. I should have called the police right then. Instead, I walked closer. That's when Vincent saw me. "Hey," he said, way too calm for someone caught in the middle of whatever this was. "You're the night guard." "Yeah," I said, trying to sound normal. "Just doing my rounds." He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Good. That's good. You take your job seriously." I noticed his hands were stained dark. Could have been motor oil, but I didn't think so. The trunk of his car was open, and I could see more black bags inside. The smell was stronger now. "You know," Vincent said, stepping closer, "Marcus always said I worried too much. Said I should just let things go, move on with my life. But some things you can't just move on from." "What do you mean?" "Insurance money doesn't just appear, you know? Sometimes you have to make difficult choices. Sometimes accidents need to happen." I realized then that I'd walked into something way bigger than just a weird customer. The car accident wasn't an accident. Vincent had killed his own brother. "I think I should head back to the booth," I said, backing away slowly. "I think you should stay right here," Vincent replied. "We need to talk about what you've seen." I ran. Just turned around and ran as fast as I could back to the guard booth. I locked the door and called 911, but by the time the police arrived, Vincent and his car were gone. They found the storage unit empty except for bleach stains on the concrete floor. I quit the next day. Never went back to that place. But sometimes, at exactly 3:17 a.m., I still wake up wondering if Vincent is still out there, still cleaning up his mess, still looking for witnesses who know too much. My name is Marcus, and I work night security at this big office building in downtown Phoenix. Been doing it for 2 years now. The pay is decent, and mostly it's just me walking around with my flashlight, checking doors. The building has 12 floors. Pretty standard stuff. Law firms, insurance companies, some tech startups. I knew every corner of that place. Or, I thought I did. It started on a Tuesday. I was doing my usual rounds around 2 a.m. when I heard this weird humming sound, like electrical equipment running. But it was coming from below, way below. The basement only goes down 2 levels, and the second level is mostly storage and old furniture. I figured maybe the building's HVAC system was acting up again. That thing breaks down every other week. But when I got to the basement, the sound was coming from further down. There's supposed to be a sub-basement, but it's been sealed off for years. Asbestos problems or something. The humming got louder near this old maintenance door. I'd walked past it 1,000 times. Never thought about it. But now, the lock was different, newer, and there was a keypad next to it. I should have just walked away. Filed a report. But curiosity got the better of me. The door was slightly open. Just a crack. Enough to see stairs going down. The smell hit me first. Musty air mixed with, I don't know, electronics. Like when you open up an old computer. I went down maybe 20 steps before I heard voices, low talking, multiple people. There was light at the bottom, fluorescent bulbs humming. That's what I'd been hearing upstairs. I crept closer and shit. There had to be 50 monitors down there, all showing different rooms, bathrooms, offices. Some looked like apartments. 3 guys in maintenance uniforms were sitting around, watching the screens. One of them was zooming in on a woman in what looked like her bedroom. Another was recording something on his phone. I recognized 2 of them. They'd been doing routine maintenance in our building for months. Always friendly. Always had their badges. I'd let them in dozens of times. My phone had no signal down there. The walls were thick concrete. I started backing up the stairs, trying to be quiet, but one of the steps creaked. Loud. The talking stopped. I ran, up the stairs, through the basement, straight to the elevator. Pressed the button over and over. Nothing happened. The display was dark. I tried the stairwell door. Locked. The keypad was blinking red. I was trapped. Footsteps echoed from the basement. Heavy boots on concrete, getting closer. I hid behind some filing cabinets in the storage room. My heart was beating so loud I thought they'd hear it. The footsteps reached the basement level. Flashlight beams swept across the walls. "Check the stairwells," one of them said. He couldn't have gotten far. Another voice. "This is the third one this year. We're getting sloppy." Third one. What happened to the other two security guards? I stayed hidden for what felt like hours. Eventually, the footsteps faded. The elevator started working again. I got out of there as fast as I could. I called the police from my car. They said they'd investigate, but when they got there, the sub-basement was empty. No monitors, no equipment, just empty rooms and dust. The maintenance company claimed they'd never worked on our building. No record of any of those guys. The building owner said there was no sub-basement, just storage areas. But I know what I saw. Those monitors showed live feeds from all over Phoenix. Hotels, apartment buildings, office complexes, all places where maintenance workers would have access. I quit the next day, found a job at a small retail store, day shift only. But sometimes I wonder, how many other buildings have rooms like that? How many people are being watched right now and don't know it? The worst part? I still see one of those maintenance guys around town sometimes, at the grocery store, at the gas station. He always smiles and waves like we're old friends, like nothing happened. I moved to a different part of Phoenix, changed my routines, but I still check every corner of every room I enter. I cover my laptop camera. I inspect every smoke detector. Because somewhere out there, in basements and sub-basements across the city, people are watching, recording, waiting, and they know I know.